So today we're going to unravel one of the most personal mysteries out there, heredity. I mean, it's the story of why you are, well, you. And it's all written in the secret code that's hidden deep inside your cells. Let's get into it. Okay, I bet you've wondered this before. You look in the mirror and you see a bit of your mom, a bit of your dad, but how does that even work? How does your body decide which features to pick from who? That's the exact puzzle we're going to piece together today. So take a look at this. It's a really cool contrast, right? On one side, you've got a sugarcane field, and honestly, all of the plants look pretty much the same. But then you look at a human family, and you see all these tiny differences between everyone. Scientists have a word for that. They call it variation. And that variety, that's the key. It's what you get from the way we reproduce. You know, every great mystery needs a hero, a detective. And for this story, our detective is a man named Gregor Mendel. We're talking over 150 years ago, and he did it all from a quiet monastery garden with just pea plants. He used them to crack the code of how traits get passed on. So, why peas? What's so special about them? Well, for a detective like Mendel, they were perfect. See, a plant was either tall or short, period. No medium-sized guys. Its seeds were either round or wrinkly. Super clear either-or traits, which made them incredibly easy to keep track of. Okay, this is where things get really fascinating. Mendel took a pure tall plant, one that he knew only ever made other tall plants, and he crossed it with a pure short plant. Now, you'd think maybe you get some medium-sized plants, right? A mix? Nope, not at all. Every single one of the new plants was tall. It was like the short trait just, poof, vanished into thin air. But he wasn't done. He then took two of those new tall plants and crossed them with each other. And this was the big aha moment. In that next generation, the short trait came back. And it didn't just show up randomly. It came back in this perfectly predictable pattern. For every 3 tall plants that popped up, one short plant showed up too. Like clockwork, a perfect 3-to-1 ratio every single time. So that leads to the big question, right? How can a trait completely disappear for a whole generation and then just reappear? The only way that makes sense is that the instruction for shortness was never really gone. It was just hiding. And that's when Mendel realized he wasn't just gardening. He had stumbled onto a secret code, a set of fundamental rules for how heredity works. He figured that all these traits must be controlled by these tiny, invisible factors that came in different versions. He called the first kind dominant, and a great way to think about it is like, it's the loud trait, the one that always gets heard. Even if a plant only has one instruction for tall, that's the one you're going to see. It just dominates the conversation. And then there's the other kind, which he called recessive. If the dominant trait is the loud voice, this one's the quiet one. And the only way you actually see a recessive trait, like being short, is if you get 2 copies of that quiet instruction. There's no loud dominant instruction to talk over it. Okay, let's break down how that 3-to-1 thing happens. This table makes it super clear. Remember those first-generation plants? They each had one loud instruction for tall, that capital T, and one quiet one for short, the little t. So when you map out all the possible combos for their kids, look at that. 3 out of the 4 squares have at least one of those loud capital T's, so they're going to be tall. Only one box gets 2 of the quiet little t's, and that's your short plant. Bam! Mendel's 3-to-1 ratio explained perfectly. You know, what's absolutely amazing is that Mendel figured all this out without a microscope, without any modern tech. He didn't even know what these instructions were actually made of. It actually took science about another 100 years to find out that his invisible factors were real, physical things. So let's zoom in on ourselves for a second. Your whole body, it's made of trillions of tiny cells, right? And deep inside each of those cells, you've got these things called chromosomes. And what are chromosomes? Well, they're basically just super, super long threads of a molecule called DNA. It's the complete instruction manual for making you. So remember those invisible factors Mendel talked about? Well, today we call them genes. And a gene is really just a short section of that DNA instruction manual. Think of it like a single recipe for one specific thing, like how tall a plant should be or what color your eyes are. And here's the kicker. Just like Mendel predicted with his peas, for every single trait you have, you get 2 copies of that recipe. 2 genes. You get one from your mother, and you get one from your father. It's the ultimate partnership. All right, so now that we've got the basic rules down, let's use them to solve one more big mystery. What actually determines if a baby is a boy or a girl? It turns out the answer is in a very special pair of chromosomes. Now, most of your chromosomes come in these perfectly matched pairs, but there's one pair that's a little different, the sex chromosomes. Females have two of the same kind, two X chromosomes, a perfect match. Males, though, they have one X and one tiny little Y chromosome. They don't match. So here's how that plays out. It's actually pretty simple. Since a mother has two X chromosomes, every egg she makes will have an X. But a father has both an X and a Y, so about half his sperm carry an X, and the other half carry a Y. So if an X sperm meets the egg, you get XX, a girl. If a Y sperm gets there, you get XY, a boy. So you can see it's basically a coin flip every single time, a 50-50 shot. And what this all means is actually super straightforward. A mother can only ever pass on an X chromosome. That's all she has to give. So it's the father's sperm, whether it's carrying an X or a Y, that actually determines the biological sex of the baby. Isn't it incredible to think about? These simple rules that Gregor Mendel figured out in his garden, they're the foundation for so much of our world today, from creating new medicines to figuring out how to grow stronger crops. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If these rules can explain a pea plant, and they can explain you, what other secrets about who we are just waiting for us to find them, written in our own DNA?